Thank you for joining us for another segment of What Women Bring, a closer look, where I have the opportunity to sit down one-on-one and have a conversation, a very intimate talk with our 2022 What Women Bring honorees. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Sarah Castle, who is the professor of practice in entrepreneurship at the College of Charleston. Thank you.
Hi.
I'm so excited.
I've been waiting for this conversation.
I have to. You're doing so much. And so we got 20 minutes, so we might as well get started.
Okay, let's do it. You're right. What do we cover?
Let's start with that you were our business honoree.
Yes.
So there are a couple of things you do in the area of business. So let's talk about what it is that you do at the college. Let's start there.
I'll talk about the college, and then I probably have to go backwards.
Okay.
Because how I got kind of involved in What Women Bring, I was in a different job, and I transitioned right before the event.
Exactly.
Yeah. So at the College of Charleston, I teach entrepreneurship and management, which are just two areas I'm really passionate about. And I spent a lot of time working in those areas before this. So what I was doing before this and what tied into my nomination was 15 years at Amazon.
Wow.
Which is like dog years as a place. So it feels like it's like 50 years.
Wow.
And I'd led lots of different teams and different functions, had really cool jobs.
Yeah.
But I was just ready for change, and I wanted to do something that was more aligned with like the purpose that I had discovered. Mm-hmm. And so I got the opportunity to start teaching at College of Charleston as an adjunct, and then a full-time role came open in entrepreneurship. Wow. And so I just jumped on that because I knew what I wanted to be doing was teaching and developing the leaders of the future, essentially. So that's where I'm headed.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to leverage all that experience I have so that I can bring that into teaching, and coaching also is something that I'm starting to do.
So you jumped into an area. I know you and I talked a little bit about how this was a little bit of a leap of, it was a leap of faith or a leap of confidence or leap of whatever. You jumped. You literally did. And a lot of our honorees have talked about that moment when you decide that it's time to do something different, and how you process that.
So I had been working with a life and career coach for many years, which affected different decisions I made. Yeah. But I got to the point where I just knew. Mm-hmm. I think we talked about this at the luncheon.
You did.
Right? Like I just had that full body knowing. I am meant to do something different.
Yeah.
I'm going to figure out what this is. And then when I got the chance to have the role at the college, like it was a whole body yes. Mm-hmm. It was just like, yeah, okay, I'm going to go do that now. And that's how I'm trying to make decisions.
Wow.
More recently. Yeah. Because it's easy to just get into default.
Yep.
And go and achieve, and all these other great things have happened, but I just needed some other purpose.
Life and professional coach?
Yes.
Nice. I
call it leadership coaching.
Yeah, leadership coaching.
Yeah.
I don't think enough of us have that. I think, again, that's another investing in ourselves that sometimes women don't do. We kind of find ourselves in these positions.
Yeah.
And we're like accidentally usually in the right place at the right time and have the right stuff.
Yeah.
But tell me about how you got into having a leadership coach.
So first of all, it's a privilege, I think. I don't know if it should be a privilege, but it is. And so for me, I was working in some really hard jobs at Amazon, which were fun and cool and new technology, like the stuff I was excited about. But what I found happening in my life is I was giving my whole self to work. Mm-hmm. And like I lost my mojo. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's like a term.
Yeah.
But I could just tell that I wasn't really who I wanted to be because I was like giving so much away and work was the whole priority. And so my initial work with a coach was like, how do I like break these patterns that I have? And then I stayed working with the same coach, like off and on over probably 8 or 10 years at these different pivotal points. It's like, oh, then I had a kid, and and then I'm going to go to the executive level or whatever it is. And so I find for me that I will, if I can choose a coach, I will choose a coach every time because it's an accelerator to my own growth.
Right.
So like I choose coach, you know, I have a basketball coach, right? Sometimes I have a trainer, I have a career coach. Those things all, I just like help me grow faster. And that's usually what I'm looking for.
You talked about privilege, and that's true. It can be an investment, but not everyone can invest in that. So, and you talked about that even at the luncheon about your privilege in a couple of areas.
Yeah.
So, and I know that you utilize your privilege to support initiatives. I know that from the work you've done with us. Tell the people how you use your privilege and influence change across the community.
So this is newer for me.
Yeah.
And so I grew up with some level of privilege, but I came from, my mom was a single parent. My dad didn't pay child support. It was not easy.
Right.
Like I remember when the tax refund came, that was like, what do we need? Spend it up. Go. Yeah. What we need now?
Christmas if ever.
Right. Like if we bought a car that was worth $2,000, it was like, that was pretty nice.
Yeah.
Right. And so for me, I then built a life where I worked hard so I could go to good schools and achieve and like pay off student loan debt and all these things that kind of like turn you into who you are. But for a lot of time in my life, like I was just trying to take care of myself, like build my way out of that. And so to your question, I got to the point in life where I was like, oh, I'm good. My family is good. It's time for me to like have more impact or share what I know. And so I'm working on a few different things now, like doing work with the Y.
Yeah.
I'm part of an investment group where we kind of pool money together and invest in local nonprofits in Charleston.
Right.
I've done a bunch of mentoring and coaching for women, and then getting more involved in local entrepreneur groups. And so these are places where probably over the last 2 or 3 years, I've been doing more.
Yeah.
But it took me, I got to this point where I was like, oh, finally I can be who I want to be.
Right.
Because I don't have a scarcity mentality anymore.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That scarcity mentality.
Yeah.
When you're just trying to make ends meet.
Right.
And you don't even have the wherewithal to think about, now how do I also help somebody else?
Right. I mean, some people have that.
Yeah.
And are born with that or raised with that, where they're helping even if they don't have a lot. For me though, I was always like, okay, take care of myself. Like, how do I not recreate where I came from? And like, how do I offer myself more? And so now it's like, oh, I feel this sense of freedom where I can start to be more connected with women in business. Right. I can share experiences I've had and mentor folks or help with strategic planning or do my own self-development around diversity, equity, and inclusion. Those are all places where I've started to spend my time differently.
Yeah, that self-work on diversity, equity, and inclusion is important. And I think that for white women particularly, that work, and I love the fact that you're doing the work. So you can be an example to other of our white counterparts to say there's work to be done in this area.
Moving to Charleston, which was about 4.5 years ago for me, was just an incredible life change because I see things in Charleston that I didn't see when I lived in Seattle.
Yeah.
From a cultural perspective, history, all these things. And so coming to Charleston has been, there's growth there too, just because of how we can think about diversity, equity, inclusion in the context of being in this place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This historical place as it relates to racism and equity.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that I hear that a lot, that, I grew up in Savannah. So from a cultural and historical standpoint, the cities are very similar. They're also very different, but very similar. So it wasn't like a culture shock for me coming here. But I hear a lot of people say they didn't see. Now, it exists everywhere.
Right.
All 50 states.
Oh, yeah.
And then all continents.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
It definitely exists. But to come here and recognize that you can't just live in your privilege, that there's a difference to be made. So that part, that's one of the things I really love about you, because there is enough to go around.
Yes.
There's enough for all of us.
Yes.
However, this hierarchy that we have found ourselves, this false hierarchy that we've built amongst ourselves as people, makes it feel like unless you're down, I don't look like I'm up.
Right. Which is not true.
It's not actually true. Right.
Not true at all. But I think I've learned this more from being in the South, where there's so much generational wealth.
Yeah.
Which,
and generational poverty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally. Where you've learned over time, like, okay, I'm going to do for my family, And exactly what you're saying is it doesn't have, it actually can be many ways.
Yes.
Right.
Lots of ways.
Yeah.
So now back to business. You're teaching entrepreneurs.
Yes.
You've worked in business. You're mentoring, but you're also going to start a business.
Yeah.
Of course.
It's kind of in the works.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me about that.
So in addition to the teaching and growing leaders, which I had mentioned before, I just get so much energy from helping mostly women, but not always, grow in their careers.
Yeah.
So I spent hours mentoring when I was like growing up in leadership roles at Amazon, and I'm good at that.
Yeah.
And I want to spend time on that. And so I've gone through a 9-month training program with all, coaching practice and all these things I was doing already, but wanted to formalize. And so I'm launching that, and I'll do consulting as well, related to how to transform organizations, because a lot of the roles that I've had over time were either building new businesses or new ventures, or transforming or fixing those. And so I have a lot of practice coming in, thinking about strategy, vision, goals for organizations, and then how do you get the right people in the right jobs?
Yes.
How do you measure yourself? And the interesting parallel with that consulting is in coaching, it's actually mostly the same things, but just personally, it's like, your own personal vision and goals.
Right.
How do you put yourself and have the right boundaries or role set up for yourself in different aspects of your life? And so those things really come together for me, where I can blend my personal interest and where I get energy with that professional experience that I have.
Awesome. So your business is going to be called?
I think I have an entity which is called Castle Consulting.
Okay.
And I'm working on my domain name.
Yes.
Which is hard to come by. Because people buy those things and sell them.
They do.
Yes.
Up there. Yeah, I get notices all the time that the YWCA blah, blah, blah is available if you want to purchase it.
Yeah.
We're fine with what we have.
So I'll have that launch in the beginning of 2023.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So you don't just do business. You don't just do professoring. You don't just do mentoring. You got family, right?
Yes.
And you have fun.
So
like you have so much energy.
Yeah.
I know you have fun.
I'm a fun... I've been finding the fun.
Okay.
But no, I have a 5-year-old daughter who is just super cool.
Yeah.
And learning how to read and so curious.
Yes.
And so part of why I've also made these changes is because I wanted to reclaim some of the time I was giving to a company and put it back into my family and to myself, frankly. And so, she's amazing, and she gives me coaching, like on a bad day. She'll be like, "Mom, you're doing great."
Oh my God!
Like, thank God you said
fun.
that. Yeah. And then I'm married to an amazing partner where we, Tom, we keep it. We both contribute so much.
Yeah.
And part of why I've been able to grow and change in so many ways is because he's like 100% my partner and on board. So I'm really lucky in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have the 3 of us together. We call ourselves the 3 amigos.
Oh, wow.
And we just go, like, we travel and have fun, and we are childlike. And it keeps us young. Like, it's great.
Yeah. 5 years old says, "Mom, you're doing great."
Yeah. She's like, you're the best, Mom. You're so good at this. Like, yeah, okay. Like, I don't even ask.
Yeah.
She'll just like spontaneously, if the look on my face, I don't know, she'll just spontaneously say stuff like that.
She's intuitive.
Even young kids are really intuitive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now your mom too, I know she's a fan.
Yes. She's a supporter.
Yes.
Well, she was our supporter our whole lives.
Yeah.
And she's encouraged me to like keep being more proud of me, of course.
Yeah.
But it's like you're meant to do like keep going, you're meant to do more.
Yeah.
And so that's incredible support to have. And she was always so dedicated to me and my brother. And she still is. She's like one of my biggest supporters from afar.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, what haven't I asked you? We haven't talked about your key issues, finding career purpose and how to do it all. How to do it all. We talked about that a little bit.
So here's my take on that. I think you or women, let's say, can do it all. But, or maybe it's an and, you have to pick what it all means to you.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's like, oh, I'm struggling. There's so many, I can't like be great at this and great at this. Or I don't know if you felt this way, but I've been in positions where I'm like, man, I'm doing all this stuff and I'm not doing any of it well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I'll
so
definitely.
and so I think you can, but prioritization and boundary setting has to be part of it.
Yeah.
And then you can feel successful because you're actually picking what all is. Yeah.
Nice. That sounds like coaching.
I did coach myself on that before I could coach others.
Coach me too.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that did come up a little bit in the luncheon that I know is a key issue of yours is race and gender disparities in the technology and entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And I know we saw during COVID just this great migration of women out of the workforce, largely by force because of children and, being in lower paying jobs and things being laid off.
Yeah.
So our entrepreneurship program actually grew, like tripled in just during COVID because of that. So you're on your side of it. Tell me how you see it.
So I look at things like where are the investment dollars going? And I wish I had brought this fact exactly in, but something like women are, let's say, 30% of founders, but they only get 3% of the investment. I made that up, but
I know, but yeah,
the 3% is right, but I can't remember the starting one. And so stuff like that, it's like, how do you break that? And there's a lot of investors or programs to build up minority business owners or entrepreneurship programs. But part of the challenge in that space is that funding usually comes from family in the beginning, family and friends.
Right.
And then if you get to that next level, the way you find funders is through networking.
Yeah.
And usually, or at least in the old days, or not that long ago, is that it's mostly white men networking with other white men. So how do you break something like that? And so programmatically, you can, if you're an investor or some kind of accelerator or incubator, you can determine how to make different programmatic decisions, and that's happening in the industry across the board. But it's a place that I think because it has been so networked based, it can be really hard to get ultimately the funding they need to grow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so I don't know exactly how to solve this problem, but what I can tell you is that when I teach entrepreneurship at College of Charleston, at least half my class are women.
Yeah.
Which was not the case some number of years ago, which is really incredible. So how do we keep building community around female and minority business owners and entrepreneurs? How do you build out networking in that way? There's just so much to be built to change the system that's actually been behind that for many, many years.
And tapping into where the funding is.
Yes.
Where's the money?
Yes.
Yes. And definitely, I know for us, we're around 11 classes or 11 cohorts in. And so now the whole thing is looking back at the sustainability of those businesses.
Right.
How do we now build that network of support to make sure that those businesses don't just go away? Because that's generational wealth.
Right, exactly. And most businesses don't make it past the 3-year mark.
Exactly.
And so how do you also give people the tools to know and understand how to manage the finances of their business, how to know when you're going to get to break even or when you might run out of cash, how you like take care of there's just like all these things that you might not learn in other ways. And so how can you offer resources and knowledge so that business owners are like going in armed with that so that then they can plan their businesses really well.
And especially if they're not going in with a lot of funding on the front end.
Right.
They're really counting on their business to bring in the initial capital. So
yeah.
Well, good. Well, we'll keep working.
Well, I see this part of, I'm like, I got to start my own business.
Woman in
because
business.
now because even though I have that experience in the context of a company, like in Amazon, I worked in mergers and acquisitions or in startups there, but it always had the backing of a huge company.
Right.
And so now for me, I'm like, oh, I've got to live the work as part of what I'm teaching as well, or what, I might be coaching people on.
Yeah. Well, good. We'll check back in there.
Yeah. 1 year from now.
Well, thank you so much. I think we're just about out of time, but I have enjoyed this. Your energy is always, I could tell your energy from Zoom, in person, whatever. You always have it.
Thank
you. I
you.
appreciate you just coming and talking and just letting us know who you are and what you're doing and what drives you.
Thank you.
And
Thanks
that you have fun.
Yes, and thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
You gotta keep the fun going.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a goal on that. Like do something new.
Oh yeah.
Like new experience.
Yeah.
There's ways to make sure it's incorporated in your life.
A new experience.
Yeah.
I got it. I'm gaining all these tidbits.
Good.
Do something new. Got it. Thank you.
Thanks.